Hey guys, welcome back. Last time I talked about Frank Mincer, and somebody left a pretty good comment on there about everybody could have probably taken a chill pill, and everyone seemed like they're being really thin-skinned. Um, Guys, just to address it real quick, I don't think they're wrong, but I do think that this is something I'm going to address this here in a minute with another person. When you claim to be a professional, you claim to be the pro in the industry, you should fucking act like it. Act like a pro. You're either a professional or you're a whiny bitch. And if you're a professional, you should have professional behavior. I'm not a professional, so I can act like a whiny bastard all I want. I don't get paid for this. I don't have a Patreon. I don't have anything like that. I don't get money for this. So I want to act like a bastard. I'm going to. That being said, kind of jokingly saying that because I try not to act like an ass if I don't have to. All that being said, guys, so today I'm going to cover another piece of ground that has been bothering me. I've been paying close attention to it for about the last month or so now because it's really kind of boiling to a head, and that's the whole comic industry's collapse. In particular, I want to cover the idea: can Marvel be saved? Can Marvel Comics be saved from itself? In short, I think it can. I think Marvel can be saved. I think that it's going to get saved, and if that requires Disney to come down and shit can a bunch of people, that's what Disney will do. They are a multi-billion-dollar company and a multi-billion-dollar industry that, for lack of a better term, has put a gun in their mouth and pulled the fucking trigger. They've blown their own brains out right now. So, guys, I'm going to give you a quick rundown on what's been going on with Marvel without getting into too many details because the details are not as important. So, back in May, I'd say it was April or May, Marvel's one of their heads came out. Why are you crying like that? Shut up. I'm crying all day, cat. Sorry about that. One of Marvel's heads came out and said that basically it was the fans who just didn't want diversity in their comics. They were like afraid of female superheroes and gay superheroes. And also, it was bullshit, basically, is what it was. They were funneling the blame for their failures onto the fans. And the truth is, Marvel, so what led to that is Marvel for the last 5 years or so, since about 2012, maybe 2013, has been gender bending, changing sexual orientations, race swapping major heroes. And it really just kind of built up. And what we wound up with was a culture in Marvel where the female heroes weren't well developed, they weren't well accepted, because the reality is they were trying to be men. Female Thor, Riri Williams, Iceman suddenly turning gay. All of that stuff all became an issue not because Iceman was gay suddenly, or because Riri Williams was a woman in black, but because Tony Stark no longer existed as Iron Man, because Thor was no longer who he originally was. And if you go read the comics, for the love of Jesus, I dare you to go do it. One of the covers for one of these comics was, who was that? I can't remember what comic that line is. Oh, shit, just lost my head. The superheroine is wearing a shirt that says, "This is what a feminist looks like." Or ask me about my feminist agenda. I'm sorry. Ask me about my feminist agenda. And then they wonder why no one wants to read their shitty comics. First off, we don't want you gender bending our fucking superheroes. You want to create female superheroes? Create female superheroes. Stop gender bending our comic characters. Second, we're tired of politics everywhere. 3, we're definitely tired of progressives telling us how we don't understand what's good for us. I mean, that's just all there is to it. And that's from both sides of the aisle, by the way. That's not just conservatives saying that. Plenty of liberal-minded people or left-leaning people that read comics are saying the same thing. So basically, it kind of came to a head there. And then Nick Spencer pulled his Captain America's a Nazi bit, which pissed off fans all over the place. Which led into Secret Empire. And I'm gonna make full disclosure, guys. I haven't gotten around to reading Secret Empire myself yet. I'm actually reading through it right now, so I'll make up my own mind on whether or not Secret Empire is as bad as some people try to claim it is. I don't know. It could be, and if it is, you know what? Thumbs up. You know, I'll come out and say it. If it's better than I thought it was, I'll come out and say that as well. But I'm going off of what I've discovered since I started getting back into comics, kind of heavily getting back into collecting again. So, guys. Marvel basically blamed the fans. Well, fans reacted very voluntarily to this. They didn't like being blamed for Marvel shitting on top of themselves. And they shit their pants and then said, well, where did this come from? Somebody must have stuck it in there. No, I mean, bullshit. You You pissed on long-standing characters, and then you pissed on fans when they called you out on it. And then, so another thing they've been doing diversity hires. And guys, if you never heard my view on diversity hires, they're terrible. Affirmative action is the worst thing in the world. And I'm not just talking about for minority races. I'm talking in general, affirmative action is a terrible idea. I thought it was a terrible idea when that dumbass wrote that article that we should have affirmative action for conservatives in higher education. No, you should hire people based on them being the best hire because they know their works, know their area of expertise, regardless of politics, religion, race, sexuality, gender, any of that. If the person you hire happens to be a midget, black person, lesbian, gender non-conforming, alien from Mars, but that's the best person for the job, then that's who should get it. And vice versa, if it's the straightest, whitest person in the male in the universe, they should get the job because they're the best fit. Doesn't matter. Anyways, so they started hiring these diversity hires like Heather Antos and Mags Vasilio, and Dan Slott is just turned into a douche. Several of these people are just douchebags. So they of course, they write these really shitty comics. Incredible Squirrel Girl, shitty comic. Gwenpool was not that good. Just they're shitty comics. I mean, I can go through and do them all, but they're shitty. They're shitty comics. No fucking story to them. 90% of it is feminism masquerading as comic book. Progressive ideology masquerading as comic book, or punching somebody because you don't like them and calling them a Nazi. I mean, that's like 90% of Marvel Comics right now. And of course, fans, of course, go onto Twitter and they come out and they said the latest Gwenpool sucked. Heather Antos, who's the executive or assistant editor for that, by the way, I don't ask how this girl got this position. I encourage you to look at Diversity in Comics and Captain Cummings in particular, talking about Heather Antos and how she got hired over there. She had no credentials at all, not in the comic book industry. But anyways, she comes out and starts attacking them, claiming that they just hate women and oh my God. Again, she shits herself and then blames somebody else for putting it there. It was ridiculous. The whole concept is just ridiculous. This whole fight is ridiculous. Anyways, Marvel has just basically buried itself. So it digs its grave, stands on the edge of it, puts the gun in its mouth and get ready to pull the trigger. And then Disney comes along and says, stop, full stop. They basically are, nobody's coming out and saying this, and a lot of people are trying to argue this, even though there's a lot of debate whether or not Legacy is going to be any good or not. There's a lot of push that Disney has come out is the reason that Legacy is even coming about, because Disney basically grabbed the gun from them before they could finish burying themselves completely. And said, look, we're going to reboot these comic lines with the original characters. Thor's becoming Thor again. Although Thor is still going to be in outer space for now. There's not a lot of known about what's going to happen with his character. He is still in outer space, I think, right now, even into the Legacy line. You got Thor's coming back. Riri Williams is no longer going to be Iron Man. It's the primary Iron Man. Neither is Doom. Which, by the way, Dr. Doom was Iron Man. Don't ask how the fuck that happened. I'm not exactly disappointed in that because I think Dr. Doom is an amazing character. But the idea is that he's not Iron Man. I'll tell you here in a second why that's a problem. But so Doom's not going to be Iron Man. Riri Williams is not going to be Iron Man anymore. Tony Stark is. Riri Williams is going to become the ultimate version of Iron Man, which is fine because Ultimate Universe is actually considered a separate universe. Jane Foster died. Thank God. They're basically reversing all of this crap. Again, nobody's sure if Iceman's going to retain the whole homosexual thing. Wouldn't bother me if he does, as long as they don't shove it down my throat. I don't really care. I care because he's a good character. I like Iceman as a character. I've liked him pretty much since the 90s. A couple of the mid-90s video games when you got to use him as a character, I really liked his character. And so I can take or leave whatever happens with him. If he's gay, whatever, who cares? As long as they go back to telling good stories. So that's the hope for Legacy, is that they're going to go back to iconic characters and telling stories rather than politics. So they're also moving several people around. One of them is Dan Slott. Dan Slott is on a rampage right now. He's pissed off about losing Amazing Spider-Man. And he's losing Spider-Man because he was so busy stalking people on Twitter and tweeting about how Donald Trump is like the second coming of Lucifer that he was missing deadlines for his comics, guys. He was missing fucking deadlines. So, guys, he's a dick. He's just a dickhead. I hate him. I don't like him at all. He needs to be fired. And in fact, I think he'll be one of the first ones on the bread line when Marvel has to go through and fire a bunch of people. Him and Heather Antos and Mag Facilio and all of them will all be on the fucking bread line when they go to fire people. I won't be surprised to see Nick Spencer on the bread line as well, but I think he'll be one of the last people out the door. And I'll explain right now why I think that's the case. I think Nick Spencer is burning the goodwill of fans. He, and I had this argument yesterday, and people want to sit there and say, whoa, these people were being mean to him, threatening him. It goes back to the whole professionalism thing. I don't care what people are saying to you. You are a professional. You are supposed to be professional. You should have more integrity than the dumbass 17-year-olds tweeting death threats at you. You know what you do when somebody tweets a death threat at you? Report it to Twitter. If it's serious, they can forward it to the police, or you can forward it to the police if you take it seriously and have them investigate it. You don't tweet about how a bunch of misogynistic assholes just don't understand Marvel Comics. Shut the fuck up. That's why Marvel's about to die. Its comic lines are dying. It doesn't help that they're printing 94 of them. But, you know, then the other side of that is they've also got what's called, if you guys aren't familiar as well, they also have what's called event fatigue. Okay, so guys, events are, they're fun. They can be. Like, I've got one sitting next to me with Dark Knight's Metal. But I'm going to tell you something, guys. Events are fun only if they're occasional. I don't think they've done a real huge Batman event in a while. You get the argument. You'll get the argument with people that like Death of the Family or Court of Owls or any of Scott Snyder's stuff for the New 52 could be an event. It wasn't. It was a storyline. It's actually just one big storyline. And events are totally different. Events are storylines that are independent of the actual comic line. Completely independent of the comic lines. And Secret Empire is a good example of that. Nick Spencer, I apologize. I got him and Scott Snyder's names in my head at the same time. Nick Spencer came out and said, oh, you know, we're going to turn Cap into a Nazi. They're going to use the Cosmic Cube to do so. And I apologize, guys, if I'm spoiling Secret Empire for you. I actually have already spoiled it for myself, so oops. But he said, no, they're going to have used the Cosmic Cube. He was never really a Nazi. He was a clone, which, by the way, he had tweeted like 4 months before that, oh, he will never be a clone. Yeah, he was. He was a clone the whole fucking time. He was a clone that was created, and they used the Cosmic Cube to make the Allies have lost World War II, and so Cap switched to Hydra, and it's goofy. I mean, the whole thing's goofy. But when you have an event like that falls off of another 2-year event that was built up with Civil War II, which was built up with another 2-year event before that, which was Secret Wars 2. Now you can kind of see where I'm going. It was ridiculous. Event after event after event after event after event after event. People don't want to buy it because events are expensive. I'm gonna tell you right now, at $5 freaking comic, events are expensive. Especially when you think Secret Empire, $5 a comic, 10 issues just for the main story. Not counting Prelude, not counting tie-ins. You're looking right there. You're looking at what? Probably $100, close to it, just for the Prelude and the main lead-in plus the main story. Then add another 200 or so, probably 250 for the tie-ins. You're looking at $350 for an event. I'm on a fixed income. I can't afford $350 for comics. I'll read the main storyline. That's what I'll read. Screw the rest of it. Don't care. Dark Knight's Metal is a good example of how an event should have been handled. The Forge, the casting, Dark Knight's Metal 1, all $5. Everything else will be $2.99. There you go. you are saving about half of as much on each of those additional issues as you would on Secret Empire. Event fatigue's killing them. So, guys, how do I think you save Marvel from stuff? Real simple fix, guys. Fire your diversity hires. That's the first thing you gotta do. Max Facilio, Heather Antos, Dan Slott, all this, they're gone. Just get rid of them. They're worthless. They're never going to bring people into comics. They're divisive. Heather Antos, Dan Slott, and Max Facilio have all been caught using block bots. To put this in perspective, Heather Antos got caught blocking 5,000 people in one day because they were linked to Captain Cummings' account on Twitter, which Dan Slott then reported to the point where he got banned off of Twitter, got suspended on Twitter for no reason. So that shows how, which by the way, Dan Slott has Captain Cummings blocked and still follows Captain Cummings, even though he has him blocked from seeing his page. Yeah, that really happens. Guys, Marvel has to fire these people. They have to get rid of them. I'm not the kind of person who runs around saying, oh, you fire them. I'm not firing. You're not firing them because they've said or done something. You're firing them because they're stupid and they've killed your comic line. I'm sorry, nobody gives a shit what Heather Antos thinks. She's a misandrist at her best. She's a misandrist. She's an idiot. She has nothing about comics. How she become an associate editor at one of the largest, not one of, I was going to say one of, at the largest comic producer in the world is so far beyond anybody who understands comics that, like, you kind of wonder if Marvel wasn't looking for a reason to kill themselves. But that's the first thing you have to do. You have to fire all these idiot diversity hires, idiot employees that are doing crap left, right, and center that breaks the rules, breaks civil discourse, and further, doesn't advance Marvel Comics at all, other than to make them look like a bunch of jackasses, political jackasses. Personally, I honestly believe eventually that Disney will come down and personally start shit-canning people and replacing head editorship and stuff and CFOs and CEOs in Marvel with people who are going to try to revive it. I agree with somebody was actually saying it the other day, and I'm not sure I disagree with them. I think Rob Liefeld would be a great addition as one of the chief editors. He was part of Marvel during the height of their popularity in the 80s and 90s. I'd personally argue that Chris Claremont should get some type of position within the company because he crafted some of the best X-Men stories in history. He helped create Wolverine. He didn't create it, but he did help flesh him out pretty well. His original 4-part miniseries in the Volume 1 was all done by Chris Claremont. So Chris Claremont's a great dude, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know about his politics, but I know that his politics never really leaked too much into his comics. But those are the kind of people I would replace them with. I think Disney's going to do that. I think the second thing you have to do here, you got to withdraw politics. Stop talking about politics. Everything is politics now. Well, here's a wake-up call, guys. Nobody wants politics all the time. Some of us just want to wake up one morning, shockingly, pick up the comic that we have on our to-be-read pile, and just read a comic. Dark Knight's Metal, for example. I keep going back to it, but it's so fucking good. I'm probably going to do a review of it here at some point. It's really good. I'm really digging it right now. It's a really good story, really creepy, really dark storyline, really good. So guys, that's what you got to do. You got to take politics out. Nobody cares what your politics are. Nobody cares if Heather Antos and Dan Slott them hate Donald Trump. Nobody cares. How does that tell a story? It doesn't. Nobody gives a shit if if Captain Marvel is a transgender. Nobody cares. You know why? Because the truth is Captain Marvel's not a transgender. They're trying to make her into a transgender. By the way, just so you guys know, she only shipped 18,000 units last month. So they only shipped 18,000 units of that comic. In fact, the androgynous drawing techniques they're using on Carol Danvers right now has several reviewers and jokers, people who are joking about it, calling her Carl Manvers. So, people hate them. They hate Marvel right now, guys. Understand that this is a problematic issue with them. Marvel can't be saved. Like I said, cut politics, fire people who don't belong there. The last thing you have to do, I think, if you're Marvel, and this is an honest assessment, cut down the number of comics you're printing. Nobody's going to ever collect all 94 that you're doing. You would be more you'd be more equipped to deal with the industry and with the comic fans if you would only be printing around 30, 35. Don't get me wrong, nobody's going to buy every comic you ever print all the time anyways, unless they're millionaires. But here's the thing, 94 comics, you're lucky if you got people collecting 3 to 5 lines at a time. I mean, I know people, that's the average person. There are people certainly out there that are collecting 10, 15, 20 of them at a time on a pull list, just for Marvel. Most people I know that have pull lists that mix. They mix, you know, DC and Marvel mostly, but they can also mix in maybe some Image or some Valiant. Guys that have some different pull list billings. So the idea basically, here's the whole idea. Guys, Marvel just basically needs to get back to what made it great in the 90s and the 80s. Stop doing events. Stop doing stupid, long-winded like attacks on people that you don't agree with, and stop hiring people because they have boobs. Nobody cares. I want good stories. I know other comic fans do. As always, because we want to see your opinions on this. If you're not a comic book fan, great, whatever. I'd love to get some people's opinions that aren't comic book fans. But I'm telling you guys, if you're seriously considering checking this stuff out, I do encourage you to watch Captain Cummings. Do watch Diversity in Comics. Both of them are pretty firmly anti-social justice, which can make them a little bit biased. I say a little, they can be quite biased. When I say a little bit, they try to be as fair as they can, but there's definitely times that they leak in their personal bias. And then I encourage you to go out and find other people on YouTube and podcasts and other things talking about the different politics of what's been going on around here. You know, that's just all there is to it, guys. Anyways, leave your comments below if you've got anything to say, and we'll be happy to try to engage with you.